Hello everybody, Flamin' Shark back with another video. It's time for episode 27 of Fate Stay Night. Oh baby, we keep things rolling once more as we continue in. And yeah, Princess Medea, by the way, that's interesting. So it's interesting because obviously based on where we left off, it feels like this episode is going to have a lot to do with, is that the name of the... Versus Berserker. Interesting that this is versus Berserker, because I was going to say, in theory, we're going to negotiate with, in theory, and now we're going to get an interlude. I assume that's going to be about our girl, Castor. But it's interesting that this is where we're starting, but I was going to say, obviously, the framing here of this is that we're going to try and negotiate with Iliasville, but with it being versus Berserker, which I believe is a title we had in the Fate route as well, interesting. I'm curious how that's gonna go. Maybe we're gonna have to prove ourselves to her in combat for her to agree to join us for an alliance against Castor. Anyways, it looks like we're gonna be focusing on Castor here with an interlude to start. There's been a lot of interludes in this route, which they've been very cool too. She ponders in the dark by herself. It has already been a day since she attacked the church and killed the priest, supposedly. It has been a day since she declared that she will find it no matter where it is hidden, if it exists. It may not be the case for other servants, but there is no way someone as versed in magecraft as her cannot find a holy relic like the Holy Grail. Then there is only one answer. The Holy Grail never existed in this church to start with. Letting out a small sigh, she puts her finger on her temple. Yeah, the Holy Grail situation's a little complicated. When she closes her eyes, the heavy darkness weighs heavily on her whole body. That is simply a scream. It is not someone else's. The scream comes from her body and mind, telling her that she is in a critical state of fatigue. Well, she is, like, you know, to go back to this, she is currently the master of Saber, of Archer, and of Assassin, which is crazy. Like, obviously, like, it's a weird situation because, yeah, we don't really know what's going on with Lancer. Obviously, Berserker is in Ilya's, you know, control, just like normal. And then, obviously, like, Kuzuki is Castor's master, and then Castor is in control of Assassin, Rider, and Saber, and then, or not, sorry, Assassin, Archer, and Saber, and then Rider is the one servant that's dead in this route. That's what's crazy, is as deep as it feels like we are potentially into UBW, only one servant's actually been defeated. And really, we still have 7, because we still have the Golden Archer with Shinji. Freaking Gilgamesh. It has already been a month since she was summoned. During that time, she has done her best just to win. Her master is an ordinary person without a magic circuit, and she herself is the weakest of the servants. I mean, that's the ironic thing, right? Is that, as we've seen, she's basically ended up being... She's basically the master, and he's basically kind of like a, you know, servant. Maybe not a powerful servant, but like just from a... Like, because obviously with her being the caster, she's a mage, so... Yeah, it's kind of a unique... They kind of have a flip dynamic here, Kuzuki and Castor. In order to make up for that shortcoming, she abused magecraft that was prohibited. She has been exploiting the citizens. She's been manipulating the ley line using human sacrifices and the threads of magical energy that she placed throughout the town. I feel like ley line is a word that's barely been mentioned in this route. If I'm remembering correctly, I feel like they talked about ley lines a bit more in the Fate route. Which is ironic, because obviously, yeah, this has been the Castor arc, basically. That is the cause for why she was called a witch when she was alive. But she had never used them before. She should have never used them, and she had no intention of doing the forbidden. So, why did she end up using them for such a meaningless kill fest? She became a heroic spirit for her own revenge. However, she understands that it is meaningless to use the magecraft that diminished her to being a witch. She only uses trivial magecraft. It was her creed to inflict certain curses that people referred to as disasters. They could cause people to destroy themselves with their own greed and return to their true selves. That was all the revenge she could manage. So what caused her to stray from her path so much?
すべては聖杯のため。あらゆる望みを叶える聖杯なのだから、気が違うのは当然です。
And what wish do you so desperately wish to be granted? Your true revenge or something else entirely? Princess. That is a lie. She knows the true identity of the Holy Grail. She has known what the thing is and for what objectives servants like her are summoned for a long time. It is true that most wishes can be granted by the Holy Grail that appears in this town. It could allow her to stay in this world as a physical entity instead of a heroic spirit, thereby allowing her to live a second life as a human. However,
バカね。そんなことに何の意味があるというの。
I love how, like, Nazu, like, he writes this where it's like that would be like a very obvious answer, like a very obvious desire for the heroic spirits, and it's basically something that none of them actually want, at least in the initial batch from Fate Stay Night. Obviously, again, I know Fate is a very big franchise that has a lot of things. Who knows, honestly, because obviously I know, you know, there's a million different anime. There's obviously, you know, Grand Order, and which again, I don't even fully know what that is, but I know it's gacha, but like that behemoth. Like, there's a lot of Fate out there, so I'm sure there's plenty of servants that do just want to be granted a second chance at life, but that's really not been much of a thing in Fate Stay Night. She mutters and closes her eyes. She empties her mind. For a moment, she temporarily lets her guard down and rests her mind. She hears the sound of rain. It was a moonless night. Her empty heart wanders in the surrounding pitch-black darkness. All she needs is some coffee. That is where she met him, with a bloody body and frozen limbs. That coincidence was a miracle among miracles. Is this gonna be... Is this gonna be... Is this gonna be... Are we actually getting like the Kuzuki and Medea like thing, or is this gonna be Kirei? It took place at the mountain that houses Ryudou Temple. I guess it actually could be Assassin, but she clearly feels something for that. But the way that this was described feels like it's Kirei related. Falling rain. She wanders aimlessly in the gloomy, dense forest. She leaves behind traces of blood. In her hand is the dagger that breaks contracts. The purple robe was wet from the rain, and her limbs have turned white from the winter rain. Huh. Where are we going with this, dude? I'm so interested in this, like, caster interlude. She staggers around, holding onto the trees for support. She walked on, dirtied with mud, her breath ragged, reaching out her hand as if asking for help. She did not look like her usual self that is always composed. Yeah, I could tell. No, there were not even any remnants of magical energy. Huh. She's exhausted. There's only a fistful of magical energy left in her. Interesting. For a servant, magical energy is like the body that allows them to exist. But she was losing all of her magical energy because her master was not supplying her with any. But that was only natural. She killed her own master just now. That is the sole cause for her exhaustion. Really now? Huh. She, the servant known as Castor, was trying to disappear in this mountain as compensation for obtaining freedom. I have so many questions. A dry laugh. It's funny that her body is falling apart after she stabbed her vulgar master in the back. Is this... I'm wondering if this is like how she ended up with Kuzuki, because this doesn't seem to fit anything we know about her, unless this is a previous Holy Grail war entirely, but the vague details we got do seem to line up with what we know. Moreover, it is also funny how she underestimated her connection with her master. She had done well. Her master was a legitimate master. He was in his 30s, had an average build, and didn't have many notable characteristics. He didn't have any intention to fight, but dreamed only of winning. He was a man that only waited for the self-destruction of the other masters in the shadows. Yeah, that doesn't really sound like... Kuzuki at all. The man didn't trust Castor. He disliked Castor as a skilled mage, and he insulted her for being inferior to other servants. She gave up on him after a few days. She acted as an obedient servant and continued to fulfill the man's self-esteem. As a result, she made him use up his command spells on simple, meaningless things. She told him he did not need his command spells. She made him believe that she would pledge her loyalty to her master even without the command spells. In conclusion, it was his fault for believing her, yeah? The master used his 3 command spells on meaningless things, and he was killed by Castor at that moment. It was easy. It was unpleasant for her contract with that man to still exist, so she finished him off with the contract breaker. This has gotta be how she meets Kuzuki. This has gotta be this Holy Grail War. But she had made a mistake. Servants exist using the supply of magical energy from their master. Yeah, she didn't really have a backup plan, a backup master waiting in the wings, clearly. But this isn't just about obtaining magical energy. It's about retaining and restocking it, basically. Servants are only allowed to exist in this age because they are connected to a human from this age. In other words, to lose one's master, their passport to this age, means being deported to the outside world. I like that interesting choice of words with passport, deportation, like, it's pretty good. However, one would not normally be this exhausted. This is the curse that her master left. Her master did not approve of Castor, a mage that is more skilled than him. Therefore, he always kept her magical energy supply at a level below his own. The amount of magical energy the human possesses is not enough to keep a heroic spirit in this world. She would normally be able to last 2 days even if she lost her master, but this time is different. Her magical energy was drastically decreasing with every second, and she starts to see the end. Probably a few more minutes. She will disappear if she doesn't find the next master to make a contract with. She is going to disappear before she could even fight, as a pitiful servant that got summoned just to be trampled on, unable to accomplish anything at all. It was vexing. It was vexing, but it was not a big deal. Because it was always like that. She was always treated unfairly. She was always someone else's tool. She was never understood by anyone. Yeah, you could tell that that's flashback. That's a flashback Sky. I've seen enough of freaking Saber flashbacks to know that's a flashback Sky. Yes, her life was always controlled by someone else. Daddy? King? Her mind was destroyed as a young age in order to save Jason, a hero chosen by the gods. Just for the sake of the hero, the goddess of beauty happened to favor. The goddess cursed her to blindly love a man she did not even know. With a blank mind, she betrayed her father and even her own country. Jesus. She has no recollection of anything that happened afterwards. After everything was over, the girl, who was a princess, was in an unfamiliar country. The girl who betrayed her father, the king, for a man. The witch who cut apart her own brother and mercilessly threw the pieces into the sea. Jesus. The man who wished for that, in order to become the king, cast her aside, saying that he could not marry a witch. Jesus Christ. She was taken to an unfamiliar country while still being manipulated, was labeled as a witch, and the only person she could rely on threw her away. That is her origin. Jesus. She had nothing to be blamed for, and the people around her understood that. Despite that, the people still demanded that she continue to play the role of a witch, an evil to protect the king, an evil to be on the receiving end of dark superstitions. They wanted a convenient scapegoat that they could blame for any disaster. Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds that sounds on brand. That system hasn't changed. Humans desire an easily understandable evil so that they can reassure themselves of their own goodness. 100%. In that regard, she was the perfect scapegoat. The father she could rely on was in a distant country. There was not a single person who defended her, so the people could comfortably blame her for things. Whoa. That's terrifying. How they are poor, how they hate others, how people are ugly, even how people die. They decided that everything was that witch's fault. That's why she just accepted it. Since she can only live as a witch, she decided to live like a witch. She just swore that she would show them how ugly the thing they desired and celebrated was. If people do not know their ugliness, then so be it. They can stay ignorant, go to hell for their own crimes, and suffer forever. They will not be able to get out of hell. They can only suffer as criminals for the rest of their lives since they do not know what crimes they have committed. That is the meaning of existence she has imposed for herself. Jesus Christ! The role that they gave to the girl who'd been called a witch and never had free will. Unbelievable. Mwah! Dude, there have been some absolutely goated interludes, and this is another one that's just absolutely fantastic in Unlimited Blade Works. But something like that, it's not something that someone wished for. That is the same for her. She just continues to seek revenge without any wishes of her own. Yes. Until she met this stranger at this moment. Gotta be Kuzuki. A rustling sound. She glares ahead while struggling to remain conscious. It is midnight. What kind of human would come into this forest? Yep. It was a heavy voice. She did not even have the composure to check who it was. She just thought it was all over. She had no power to use magecraft. Her purple robe might have looked like a coat, but she was covered in blood from the waist down. A woman covered in blood is hiding in this rain. It was obvious what this human would do just from seeing that. They would run away first. What would they do after that? They would either report it or pretend they hadn't seen it. Either way, it did not matter to her, as she could not move as she wanted to. That caused the last of her spirit to give out. Her final moment was lonely and cold, just like the end of her true lifetime. Or so she thought. Are we about to get a CG? Oh, I was about to... No, this is an interesting shot of the temple, though. I don't know if we've seen this shot. When she regained her consciousness, she was at that place. Sitting in front of her was that human, that man she met in the woods. Those were his first words. When she watched the man with blank amazement, oh man, dude, I'm so glad we're getting this though, because I have been dying for more of the Kuzuki caster dynamic. The man tells her in a tone of voice that doesn't change. That was how she met her master, Soichiro Kuzuki. Hell fucking yeah. Kuzuki was a strange man. Should he be called a ghost? He had no reason to live, but he had no reason to die. He was just there. And since he existed, he just did what was given to him. He had no self. That was her first impression of him, so she thought it would be easy to turn him into a puppet. She gradually realized that was a mistake. Soichiro Kuzuki has no past. He has no self because he has no past. But it does not mean that Kuzuki himself is empty. In reality, Kuzuki was a sincere man. He easily accepted her when she told him she wanted him to be her master and when she revealed her identity.
このような話を信じるのですか？
今のは嘘なのか？
Oh, and I love that. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so like, I hate how weirdly romantic this is. Oh my god, I love this so much. Of course, if she replies to him that it is the truth, then he would accept it. She was able to stay in this world by gaining a new master and was able to return to her role as a witch. Even now, she thinks that was a miracle. She would have disappeared before she awakened if she had not been taken to Ryudou Temple. Ryudou Temple is a demonic place for servants, but it is a perfect place for summoning once inside. The bounded field that surrounds Ryudou Temple is useful for keeping any inhuman beings inside from disappearing. She was saved right before she was going to disappear because she was brought to Ryudou Temple. If it had been a different place, she would have vanished after being taken there. As a result, she found the best ley line and an impregnable defense. She was easily able to take over Ryudou Temple, figured out the mechanism of the Holy Grail, and summoned Assassin as the 5th servant. That's crazy. She summoned Assassin. Like, genuinely summoned Assassin. That is wild that a servant summoned another servant in the beginnings of the Holy Grail War. Dude, this is so crazy. Like, all the things that we're tying together in this is wild. But such things are trivial matters. She was certainly lucky that night. Many miracles saved her, and now victory is within her sight. But none of it is worth her thanks. If there were nothing, she would have been just as content to give up. There was just one thing that was really important. I wonder if Castor's original master... probably not, honestly. I assume the whole Castor Kuzuki thing happens in all 3 timelines, but I wonder if that ever... If we're ever going to learn anything about that character. Like I said, probably not, because obviously Kuzuki's what matters, but a very small matter that is not important for anything else, anyone else. The coincidence that she was able to meet Soichiro Kuzuki is a miracle beyond belief. And that's going to be the end of the interlude? No, I mean, well, now we've pushed back, presumably to the present, but we're still in the interlude. But even that's not going well. No, she sighs that nothing she does goes well. Her master won't be happy even if she does such a thing like this. He has not had any interest in the Holy Grail from the start. If he had a clear wish, she would do her best to grant it, but Soichiro Kuzuki has none. A one-sided relationship. They do not get along well. Even the fact that their relationship is like that shows things aren't going well. Is that Archer? She turns to the intruder. It is not her master standing there. It is the knight in a red cloak, Archer, whose identity is still unknown.
Archer. あなたには外の見張りを任せたはずですが。
ああ。それがな、ざっと見たところ、
wow.
周囲に敵という敵がいない。
That's pretty funny.
退屈を持て余してね、中の様子を見に来たのだ。
Yeah, regardless of who his master is, Archer's always gonna be a dickhead.
それはそうでしょうね。私たちの敵はバーサーカーだけよ。それもセイバーさえ陥落すれば、こちらから撃って出るだけ。あなたが私たちに寝返った時点で、もう敵なんていないのよ。あなたもそれが分かっていたからこそ、こちらに着いたのではなくて。
I mean, I think he understands that, but I think he's also he has a little more on his mind than that.
さて、どうかな。私はあのマスターと契約を切りたかっただけとは思わないか。あのマスター以外なら契約者は誰でもよかったと。
Sure, man, sure. Archer's frivolous talk has some truth in it. But what does that mean? Does that mean Archer had no intention of betraying, but betrayed his master only because he wanted to break his contract with Rin Tosaka?
そう。小娘のおもりはごめんということ。確かに私たちサーバントは総じてマスターに不満を持つわ。あなたが愛想を尽かすのも当然でしょうね。
Not exactly what happened, but...
いや、 召喚者として彼女は完璧だった。ただ、少しばかり狂いが生じただけだ。それとキャスター、一つ忠告しよう。あらゆるサーバントが君と同じだとは思わないことだ。
That's a good point. That's actually good advice.
少なくとも、セイバーとバーサーカーは、主に不満を抱いてはいなかった。正しい英雄というものはね、正しい人間にしか刺激できないものなんだ。
Yeah, because that's the thing. Despite Berserker being, you know, in a Berserker version of Heracles, he still is, in fact, Heracles.
何を今さら。ねじ曲がったマスターだからこそ、ねじ曲がった英霊を呼ぶ。
Whereas,
そのようなこと、あなたに言われるまでもないわ。
I mean, Ilya and Berserker are like a weird match in a lot of ways, because she's not as bad as she seems, but she also kind of is, so it's kind of complicated. That is right. The quality of a servant changes depending on the summoner. Summoners with dark shadows in their mind cannot summon heroic spirits who are on the side of light. In that regard, she and Ryder are not heroic spirits. A twisted summoner calls for twisted heroic spirits. Just as Ryder was once a beautiful being, so too was Castor once a pure being. It is ironic that the heroic spirits that Castor summoned was a fictional hero.
しかし、考えてみればおかしな話だな。君やライダーは英霊に敵対するものだろう。にもかかわらず、サーバントとして選ばれている。
Indeed.
まあ、聖杯には善悪の区別はない。力のある人間霊なら、誰であろうと組み上げるということか。
I mean, yes, I guess power is one way to look at it, but I was going to say any human spirit who is remembered for their deeds and impact, whether real or fictional.
いいえ。本来そんな英霊としての側面もあるものなんて混ざり物は選ばれない。
That's an interesting way to describe it. A mixed spirit that has a heroic spirit side was never chosen. So what changed?
この戦いがおかしくなったのは3度目からよ。それまでは私やライダーのような英霊は呼ばれなかった。
Huh. That does not concern her now. She is also not interested in the true nature of the Holy Grail. Her mission as the servant that goes by Castor is only to win this war. That was an interesting little bit of lore. I don't really know, like I said, I don't think there's anything I could really extrapolate from that based on what we know. But it was just, that was an interesting little lore drop. She is not interested in what comes after. No, to be honest, that is not the end she wishes for.
無駄話はここまでよ、アーチャー。持ち場に戻りなさい。あなたが何を考えているかはどうでもいいわ。あなたはすでに私のサーバント。その命は私の手の中にある。
Yeah,
それを肝に銘じて口を聞きなさい。
That's fair enough.
了解した。では、従順なサーバントらしく、主の期待に応えるとしよう。
The knight in red goes up the stairs with an unchanging tone of voice. She watches him in silence and takes a deep sigh. One more day until Saber surrenders. She has not been able to find the Holy Grail as of yet, but she will be one step closer to the end once Saber joins her ranks. What will happen once the war ends? Castor shall make every wish come true with that power. Continuing to live as a witch just as she swore to when she was alive wouldn't be so bad. But there will be no reason once the war ends. Even if she still has the will, her owner will have no reason to be her master anymore.
あと少しで聖杯はこの手に収まる。
Castor extends her pale hand into empty space. Her long and hard work is about to be rewarded, but her expression is like that of a criminal who is about to be executed. Because despite the fact that they're not getting along, she clearly does deeply care about Kuzuki, and it's almost like she's, in a way, it's almost like she's living for the first time in her life. I'm assuming that's going to be lore related to Castor that was added just now. But we'll check that out in a second. And we're dreaming about the fire again. Lovely. Medea. The Queen of Misfortune, labeled as a witch in Greek mythology. Jason, the famous hero in the Argo expedition, interrogated King Peleus, who stole the country from Jason's father, and made a promise that if he came back with the Golden Fleece after traveling to Colchis, King Peleus, I'm going to go Peleus, would return the country to him. The one who possessed the Golden Fleece was the princess of Colchis, Medea, although she had learned magecraft as the daughter of King Aetes, no idea, who excelled in it. Her personality was far from that of a witch. Her fate started to derail once the hero Jason appeared. Yeah, her fate indeed. The goddess Aphrodite, whatever, supported Jason, and upon seeing that King Colchis was invincible, she controlled the mind of Medea, his daughter, and changed her into a girl who blindly loved Jason. As a result, Medea ended up betraying her father and her own country over a foreign man, Jason, whom she had never seen. Medea nullified her father's magecraft in the fire-breathing bowl woven with magecraft, allowing Jason to obtain the Golden Fleece. King Colchis was infuriated and went to battle himself to capture Jason so that he wouldn't be able to escape. To help Jason escape from his pursuit, Medea was used by the goddess again. Medea boarded the Argo, the ship of the man she loved but only knew by name, and slashed her younger brother, Absyrtus? I have no idea, to pieces in front of her father in pursuit. The king mourned, ordering for the pieces of his torn son to be collected. The Argo escaped pursuit using that opening, and Jason safely returned to his homeland, Iolcus, alive. Upon arrival, Jason tried to get his country back from King Peleus, following through on both the promise and vengeance for his father. However, King Peleus refused and schemed to kill Jason. Jason escaped from a tight spot by relying on Medea's magecraft for the third time, and she devised a plan for him. They invited King Peleus and killed his servant. Medea revived them with her magecraft and offered to cast the spell of immortality on King Peleus as well. The king was pleased and willingly gave Medea his body. Naturally, he was slashed into pieces and thrown into the ocean. Jason thus became king, but his fellow Argonauts didn't approve of Jason's actions, and above all, of Medea's very existence. There you go, Jason and the Argonauts. She betrayed her country for a man, slashed her younger brother so that she would survive, and then she had deceived the king and usurped the throne. Medea was disgraced as a witch and driven out of the country along with Jason. The two reached Corinth, where they were greeted by the king of Corinth. In this land, Medea finally gained restful days. However, having been taken far away from her homeland and feared as a witch, the peace she finally obtained did not last long. The king of Corinth took a liking to Jason and decided to have him marry his daughter. Jason also chose the king's young daughter and exiled Medea. Her actions after that lived up to her name as a witch. Medea appeared at Jason's wedding and used magecraft, burning everyone in attendance, including the king of Corinth and his daughter. Letting only Jason live, she left the castle. The whereabouts of Medea, who left Corinth, are unknown. It is said that the princess, whose life was filled with nothing but betraying others and being betrayed, became a true witch and continued to wander the lands of Greece. Very, very cool, and a story that, again, not really familiar with at all, so very cool to learn about. Anyways, great transition to I saw many corpses. I died at that time and was reborn. I don't have repentances about the path I took. My eyes lost their hatred, my hands lost their anger, my feet lost their hope, and I lost myself there. I lost everything. It is not because I gave up that I accepted that nothing would be saved. I just found out that it's natural. It's just that dying people will die and survivors will survive. I laid down on the mountain of rubble and gazed at the spreading ruins. I understood everything then. I thought I understood everything, but I still thought about it. If I can save everything here, how wonderful that would be. That is what I admired. I just thought that it would be nice if no one had to suffer. I tried to become a hero of justice for that sake. It was easy to understand, and it seemed like an ideal way to live, and suddenly the rain stopped. That's why I aimed for it. I could see where I had to be, and there are many ways to get there. I just kept on running, wanting to get as close to it as possible, even though I didn't know what was right or wrong. Many paths that I took were crooked, and my destination was only getting farther away. I'm taking the long way. I have been repeating this for 10 years since I got saved by Kiritsugu. But I won't regret it. I'm not skilled like Tosaka. I will take the wrong path and lose many things at times, but I can't disregard them as meaningless. I have to show meaning for why I survived, for the sake of things I have trampled over and things that won't come back. I won't lose for that sake. Can't be helped if I lose against others, but I can win against myself. I can always resist against my mind that says to give up. That's all I swore upon. There's only one thing that I believed in and wanted to believe in. Yes. Even if I'm walking down the wrong path, I will not regret believing in it. And he wakes up there? Yep, that sounds about right. Pretty early, it looks like. Still relatively dark. I'm awakened by the light pouring in from outside. Oh, maybe not. It's before 6 a.m. The sky outside the window is cloudy, as if sprinkled with ashes. Well, that's a foreboding way to put it. I get ready and leave my room. My body is in good condition, and there is not much pain in my wound anymore. I shouldn't be a burden to Tosaka like this, even if we were to engage in battle. I mean, the fact that this day was called Versus Why are you wearing glasses? I have so many questions. What is happening? I'm ready, but Tosaka has transformed, yes, into Clark Kent.
何よ、地雷踏んで動けなくなった新兵みたいな顔して。まだ準備できてないの?
I think he's just a little stunned is all.
いや、そうじゃなくて、父さんがなんか変じゃないか。
Just a bit.
は？ああ、これ細かい作業の時にかけるだけだから気にしないで。
Interesting. So you have glasses. That's new. Well, I guess that's fine if she says so. I wonder what kind of magecraft this is that makes it look so wrong, yet so right.
いい？私たちが向かうのは郊外の森。
You could tell that that her design was not like made with glasses in mind. You could tell that it's because it just looks weird. Obviously, if she was a character that was going to wear glasses a lot, they would have, you know, spent more time on that.
町からはるかに離れた市街。まだ人の手が入っていない広大な樹海よ。
Oh, don't worry, I'm well familiar with it. Bro might not be, you know, Shirou might not know what's going on, but trust me, I know where we're going.
長年人間の介入を拒んできただけあって、森は深くて広いわ。年に何人か何の準備もなしに踏み込んで遭難したって話知ってるでしょ?
I don't think I actually knew that part. I nod silently. Our destination is the Einzbern villa that is said to be somewhere in that forest. That girl, our fate is decided the moment our negotiation with Ilyasville breaks down and we end up fighting. We can't call for help, and it will be difficult to run away. Yeah, I mean, it is Berserker after all. We can't escape from the forest alive if we don't defeat that giant Berserker.
じゃあ、そろそろ行きましょう。
I just can't imagine what they could possibly do without Archer or Saber.
徹夜して場所に当たりはつけといたから、うまくすれば半日ぐらいで見つけられるはずよ。
Fair enough.
とりあえず国道までは車を使うから、タクシー代用意しといて。
Sounds good. She picks up a Boston bag full of things and starts walking. I go after her with my bamboo sword bag in one hand, but Tosaka... Money for the taxi is fine, but does that mean we'll be walking on the way back home? I don't think she's planning for the way back home. Well, here's the forest. Man, I'm very curious to see how this day goes. This is gonna be really interesting, especially like I said, because we really haven't seen Ilya at all since the beginning of the route, basically. We ride the taxi for an hour from town. We ride on the endless highway, passing several mountains, and reach the entrance of the forest. Of course, there are no paved roads in the forest. We walk about 1 kilometer from the highway and finally reach the entrance to the forest. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I can't help but get nervous once I actually face it. The forest is dark, even though it's daytime. The tall branches that cover the sky shut out the sunlight, and it's hard to see more than 10 meters ahead, let alone the end of the forest.
ちょっとシロ、悪いけど先に進んでみてくれない？
Yeah, in this, like, she looks a little different, like, the coloring looks different on Rin, and I think that's because they're trying to, you know, make it feel like we're in this forest, which has, like, weird lighting poking through the trees. There's something almost, like, ephemeral about this lighting.
いいけど、あの子の居場所を知ってるのは遠坂なんだろ？俺が先に行っても仕方がないと思うわ。
I think I just listened to Rin and trust her. I complain as I enter the forest. Then... What the hell?
なんだ、ビリッときたぞ。
Oh, she just did that to us. I pull back my foot reflexively. Only felt numb for an instant. The numbness itself is subtle and it hurts way more to stub your toe on a dresser. Oh, was that like a sense that... Is that like Ilya finding out that we're here? Is that like some like Einzbern villa, like bounded field nonsense? Well, it's basically like a static shock.
やっぱり識別だけだろうけど。
Yeah, it's definitely a bounded field. Yep. And like you said, only for identification, but that's actually really cool.
ちょっと待て。それまずいんじゃないのか。要するに防犯ベルに引っかかったってことだろ？
I wouldn't quite go that far.
なら
別に問題ないんじゃない？
Yeah.
私たちは奇襲に来たわけじゃないもの。話し合いに来たんだから。
Exactly.
むしろ今からアピールしておいた方が得でしょ？
Like in a situation like this, you want to come in through the front door.
あ、一応気をつけろよ。ちょっとビリッとくるから。
分かってる分かってる。シロの見てたからどんなものか分かってるって。
Oh, is she about to overreact like crazy? Tosaka waves her hand and steps into the forest. At that moment, oh my god, this is about to be hilarious. Tosaka lets out a funny scream and jumps back. I hear crackling electricity. I want to believe that's my imagination that the leaves piled up under Tosaka's feet are scorched. I think Ilya wanted to, maybe it's all relative to how much magical, maybe it's like a magical, like, it's like a conduit. And, like, the more, because, like, that's kind of how the magic circuits work, so I wonder if it, like, has to do with, like, your magic circuit. So, like, if you don't have any magical potential, you don't feel anything. It's like a normal forest, but the more magical potential you have or what have you, the more it fucks with you.
個人差がある警報みたいだな。
Yep.
俺には挨拶程度だったけど。
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like because it's like basically the more of a threat you would be to the von Einzberns, the more it'll be like, fuck you. I calmly explain the situation. I don't think Tosaka's going to be very calm. Yeah, that genuinely might have actually fucked her up. That sounded pretty bad. But it doesn't seem like Tosaka is listening to me.
やってくれるじゃないあのガキ。今笑ったの確かに聞こえたんだから。
I actually did not hear him laugh, but that is funny. Tosaka yells at... Oh, she heard Ilya laugh? That's actually really funny then. Tosaka yells at the empty space where there isn't anyone. I don't know where that line went, as her threatening attitude seems like she might go fight instead of talk. Well, anyways, it seems like talking bad about Tosaka is fatal no matter how far away you are from her, so I should be careful. Fun times. We walk through the forest, so that's kind of a cool shot. Trees a bit more ominous here. Yeah, because it is winter after all. We're the only living humans among these infinite trees. I don't hear the breathing of any beasts, and the plants in winter are as lifeless as corpses. The endless sea of trees that seem to go on forever makes me constantly feel apprehension. It's already been 3 hours since we entered the forest. It's way past noon, and just as I have become unable to tell whether there have been any changes in the landscape.
見つけた。って聞いてはいたけど呆れたわ。本気でこんなところにあんなものを建てるなんて。
Yeah, nice ass mansion. I followed Tosaka's line of sight. There's only darkness ahead. Between the trees, there is some incredibly out-of-place thing that can be seen through cracks that are so small they could easily be missed by anybody who doesn't pay close attention.
なんだあれ、壁か？
壁よ。まったくどうかしてるわ。あれ、自分たちの国から丸ごと持ってきたものよ。
That's pretty funny, actually. Tosaka curses and heads to the strange object we see in the distance. I follow after her, still bewildered, unable to grasp what it is. We get out of the forest. The forest that seemed to be endless abruptly ends. Funny how that works. No, it seems like the traces of the forest vanished, as if they carved out just this part with a big spoon. That sounds about right. The gray sky curving above us is so high that I can't see everything. A huge dome-like space. This is more like an underground kingdom instead of an open space. There it is. Looking sick, though. That was Ilyasvil's dwelling. It does look pretty sick. The old castle built in the middle of the forest. It is a solitary castle in the forest that has no visitors, is too big for that girl to live in, and is too lonely to live in alone. Anyway, it does no good to falter here. According to Tosaka, Ilyasvil knows that we came here, and we should go confidently from the front entrance to show that we don't have any enmity.
よし、行くぞ、トサカ。って、トサカ？
Tosaka looks up at the castle with an alarming expression. Her side profile looks as tense as it does when she's confronting an enemy, yeah. And we actually get to see her side profile to match that comment, which is nice.
トサカ、気になるもんでもあったのか？
A great many things, I imagine.
私たち以外に誰かいる。
Someone other than us? Someone other than us and Ilyasvil and potentially Berserker?
そりゃいるだろう。イリアってことバーサーカーの住処なんだから。
No, we know Ilya has her maids. We've seen that from the Fate route.
そうじゃなくて、それ以外の誰かってことよ。シロ、こっちから入るわよ。
To me, that sounds like someone other than her maids, though.
ちょっとお前。
I wonder if there's any chance Kirei's here. Because again, Kirei, we have no fucking clue what happened to Kirei. And we haven't, and Lancer has been completely non-existent as well in regards to that. Without a chance to stop her, Tosaka starts running to the big tree by the wall. No, that's not all. Tosaka grabs onto a branch and skillfully climbs up. I look up in astonishment. Tosaka looks around the castle and she jumps and kicks at the castle's second floor. Jesus Christ, girl. A shattering sound. A window breaks and the red figure disappears into the castle.
ほら早く。本気でおかしいわよ、この城。
I wonder if it's somehow like somebody already got to her. But again, the episode is called Versus Berserker, so
もう話し合いをするんじゃなかったのかよ。
I mean, I guess that doesn't necessarily mean Ilya, though. But what's done is done. I also climb the tree and jump into the second floor of the castle like Tosaka. Athlete! Oh man, these hallways are so cool. What the hell? Those almost sound like gunshots, but there's definitely a fight going on. I go out to the hallway from the room we invaded. Before I can even marvel at how magnificent this place is, the abnormality Tosaka mentioned earlier grabs my attention. The sound echoing is definitely the sound of battle. The sound of swords clashing. Unless, did Caster make her move on Berserker? But is a storm-like sword fight like this even possible? Well, if Saber's involved. Even the most intense sword fight that I've witnessed so far, the one between Saber and Berserker, didn't make these kinds of sounds. So this could be Saber Berserker round 2. Then I suddenly realize, this doesn't sound like your average sword fight. This is one against many. There is literally a war going on somewhere in this castle. Okay, yeah. How about Archer, Saber, potentially Assassin, Caster, and Kuzuki against Berserker and Ilya? There's no doubt that one of them is Berserker. This castle is Ilyasvil's castle. If a battle were to occur, it would only be when Berserker is attacking an intruder. That's crazy. We're about to witness a crazy Caster versus Ilya battle. I start running. The sounds are echoing from below. Judging from where the sounds are coming from relative to our entry point, the battle is in the center of the castle in the reception hall. I think that's where Archer fought Berserker and we didn't actually get to see the fight. I run through the unfamiliar castle. This isn't the time to be exchanging opinions. I don't know what's happening, but it feels like it will lead to permanent consequences. Well, let's see it. No. I run down the stairs. The fierce sword fight is happening close by. Perfect. Tosaka checks the end of the passage. The hallway splits at a T-junction and both seem to lead to the terrace at either side of the hall. Not sure if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but I'm willing to trust Tosaka here. It's better to split up than to stay together in one place. With the way we are now, we don't have any way to escape if we are found. We don't stand a chance either way. So we'll split up. If we split up, even if one was found, there's hope that the other can manage to escape somehow. Makes sense. Tosaka goes down the hallway facing east. I nod and go down the other hallway on the other side facing west. She suddenly stops me. Yeah, there's really nothing we can do, and even if you see Saber in this fight, because it's almost certainly Caster versus Ilya, there's nothing you can do. That's really good advice in this case from Rin, but we know that that's not how Shirou thinks at all. And in this route, I feel like he's accepted idea like that a little bit, but he's still not how he thinks in general. Her voice is suppressing her emotions. That sounded more like a plea than a warning exactly, because she knows that he's like that. Alright, let's see this fight. What the hell is happening? Oh my god. I go around and come out onto the terrace of the lobby. Jesus Christ. I see Tosaka emerge from the opposite side on the terrace far away. She immediately takes cover and peeks out to see what's going on while hiding. The instant we look down at the hall, we both suppress our voices. Oh! Golden Archer! Oh my god, it's Gilgamesh versus Berserker. I didn't even consider that. Shinji stands atop the rubble in the corner of the lobby, observing the spectacle with joy. I really was not expecting it to be Gilgamesh versus Heracles. That's crazy. No, that's not it. That's not the surprising thing. Right now, the truth that I have to accept right now is the battle that Shinji is observing. Yeah, there's Berserker saying his censored, his redacted dialogue. Oh. Oh, is this a new score? Oh, hell yeah. The black giant lets out a roar. The swinging axe sword stirs up a cloud of dust and crushes the rubble into powder. Berserker is no different than before. No, his blood-curdling roar doesn't compare to what it sounded like before. There's Ilya, and she looks a little concerned. Behind the giant is the pale white girl. Berserker's master, Ilyasvil. That girl that was always smiling innocently and unfit for a killfest. That girl is now shivering and staring at her own servant about to cry out. Her pale face is desperately trying to deny the despair in front of her. Unless this was a theme of Gilgamesh, this might have been a Gilgamesh theme. I'm not sure. Either way, if we have heard this theme, it's very seldomly. Someone help me. That's what the trembling lips of the Snow White girl seem to say. Come on, show me that golden asshole. Come on, give it to me. A whirlwind blows violently. Come on. Berserker's axe sword is repelled each time. Come on, give it to me. In the center of the hall, by the noble phantasm of one servant reigning the throne of rubble. Oh yeah. Oh yeah! The countless numbers of swords dance. One might also say that this is unlimited blade works. That's so cool. Each one of them, of the weapons appearing behind the man, is undeniably a fatal weapon. Weird to see him dressed like that, though. They pierce through like hot water. The bottomless noble phantasm destroys Berserker's body, as if repelling his axe sword wasn't already enough. His limbs fly off. The swords cut through his body, penetrate his head, and pierce his heart. But he still does not die. The giant revives after each instantaneous death that he suffers and resolutely advances towards his enemy. 8 times already. Berserker moves forward while being killed mercilessly that many times. That enemy welcomes him with a smile. The repeated tragedy. That's crazy. That's wild! Berserker is killed many times, unable to get close to his enemy.
Buck.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, bro. It's not because Berserker is being defeated without being able to do anything. That man, that servant, is beyond belief. All the noble phantasms that are repeated infinitely are real. I can tell since I have projected archers' swords. Those are the original versions of every noble phantasm, the ones from before they became legends. Who could he be, being a heroic spirit who's able to retain so many weapons? No. First of all, there should be 7 servants. Then he's the 8th one? Is he the one who shouldn't exist? Yes, he is the 8th servant. I literally titled an episode of the Fate Route that. I can't breathe. Berserker is nothing less than astounding. A body made out of steel and that superhuman strength. On top of that, he can regenerate on the spot even if he dies. He's not an opponent that can be matched. The 8th servant doesn't retreat from such a monstrous opponent and overwhelms Berserker with the repeated magic swords and holy swords. That's crazy. When I look up, Tosaka's face on the other side was also pale. It's only natural. The space below us is a land of death. We'll die instantly if we enter it. No, more than that. He is a demon. A different atrocity than Berserker. This man lacks order and wishes for battles only for the objective of killing. But even with such an unusual enemy in front of him, the Black Giant is still the strongest. His steps don't cease, even if his whole body is pierced or cut up. God, Berserker looks so terrifying there. He receives the rain of noble phantasms, regenerates each time, and surely closes in on his enemy. It is an advance devoid of tactics. He is not thinking of any ways of countering his enemy's attacks. He moves forward as long as he is alive. It is a savage battle about just killing the enemy. He will not reach the enemy. Berserker's brute courage will prove futile, and his life will end just as a mere target. That enemy understands that. That's why he stopped on purpose and is just provoking the giant that foolishly moves forward. There is no chance of victory for the Black Giant with this method. It's something that the man confronting him and I, looking as an outsider, can tell. And most likely, even Berserker himself, who is being used for target practice, must have realized the same thing a while back. Yet, the giant keeps stupidly moving forward. He knows no retreat and doesn't try to avoid the attacks while he is Berserker. That man welcomes the figure with a smile.
所詮はバーサーカー。戦うだけのものであったか。同じ半身として期待していたが、 よもやそこまでアホとはな。
Yeah, it'd be so interesting to see, like, regular Heracles later down the line. The noble phantasms appear. I mean, obviously, in, like, some other fate thing. But, you know, God only knows. Like I said, God only knows what the future for me with this series is. Like I said, the only thing I'm fully committed to doing is Fate Zero. Roaring with laughter, the man commands the noble phantasms behind him.
ではそろそろ引導を渡してやろう。これ以上近づかれては暑苦しい。
Oh, he just snaps his fingers as, like, sends the hellfire of noble phantasms down. At his signal, the numerous noble phantasms attack the giant. The giant repels a majority of them, and at the same time, a majority of them take his life. The black giant shakes. The body of rock starts to fall, but he's still tanking this shit. The giant holds off and shakes off the noble phantasms clinging all over his body. This is crazy. Yeah, even he's like, what the fuck? The astonishment comes from that man. The black giant gets rid of the swarm of noble phantasms and closes in on his enemy. His body is already a corpse. The black giant advances with what should be a hopelessly fatal wound. That is the result of a strong will. It is not the madness due to being Berserker, but it's his willpower due to being Heracles. The giant is facing this hopeless battle with a strong will. Yep. He is a true hero.
でかいだけの的が未だ形をとどめるか。
Clearly he's got a little more than that. The magic bullets are fired mercilessly. Yo! Dude, this is crazy. Repelling them with his axe sword, the giant closes in on the man with his body slashed and his legs pierced. He most likely won't reach the man. Yet for him to still challenge himself while understanding that, he must have something that he cannot give up. What is he moving forward for? The servant fights for his master to protect her life. That is why that giant did not retreat. He could only move forward as a shield to protect his master behind him. The frightened girl from the rain of noble phantasms. That's so cool. The giant resumes its foolish advancement. I feel like this is the coolest thing we've actually gotten with Berserker, because obviously we had a Berserker fight in Fate, like a proper one, but I feel like this is just, like, we're actually getting a bit of it, more insight, I feel like, into Berserker than we really got in the Fate route in this scene. Which is ironic, because Ilya was a lot more involved in the Fate route than in Unlimited Blade Works, is because he knew that he could only defeat that enemy while protecting Iliastville by taking all the attacks himself. And if he is able to reach his enemy, then that is when he wins. It was this kind of battle from the start. The man has to kill the black giant before he reaches him, and the giant has to approach the man before his life ends. This is a battle where whoever accomplishes their own goal first survives. The giant is aware of that, even if that is a battle that he had no chance of winning from the start. Yo, this is crazy. And then you just have the like destroyed castle here, like he lets out a roar. Coming out of his 10th death, the black giant runs. He charges towards the man, stirring up rubble like a bull challenging a matador.
Gero!
Numerous arrows are released. Did he get used to it from the repeated deaths, or was it his final charge? The giant repels all the arrows and closes in on the owner of the noble phantasms. The axe sword is swung. The strong sword that had not been swung at the man at all zips through the air with a flash.
Ten no kusari yo!
Well, here we go. The Black Bull is captured by the numerous chains that appear. Jesus Christ. What kind of noble phantasm is it? The chains that suddenly appeared in midair lock up Berserker as if binding space itself. The chains tighten Berserker's arms and twist them in every direction. Very cool shot. And you have the sword that's right there at his chest. As the chains wrap around his whole body, they continuously get tighter and even try to squeeze his rock-like neck off with tension.
これでも死なぬか。
Now it is Berserker.
かつて天の王子すら束縛した鎖だが、
The Bowl of Heaven,
お前を
huh?
仕留めるには至らぬらしい。
I don't know what that's a reference to at all. The man's voice. The hall is filled with the creaking sounds of the chains. It must be Berserker's strength. The giant tries to cut off the chains that control space itself. Even if it initially sounds impossible, there's no doubt that giant can accomplish it. And of course, the man understood that as well. The girl screams. Iliasville uses a command spell to command Berserker to retreat by force, but the giant is still captured by the chains and unable to move an inch.
なんで私の中に帰れって言ったのにどうして
無駄だ人形。この鎖につながれたものは、たとえ神であろうと逃れることはできん。
はあ。
いいな。神性が高ければ高いほど餌食となる。
Interesting.
元より神を律するためだけに作られたもの、霊樹による空間転移など、この俺が許すものか。
That's really interesting. So the more divinity one has, the more effective the chains of the gods are. And then, the man points to the giant as if to signal the end. An astonished girl's voice. And now he rains. Yeah, there's the hellfire again. It's over. This time, it really ends. Holy shit! Well, you know, of all the things I wasn't expecting to happen when I went here, I was not expecting Berserker to die. That was not what I was actually expecting to happen in this episode, but, you know, Unlimited Blade Works has been full of surprises, and bro took some Unlimited Blade Works to die as well. But, not at the hands of Archer. Well, I guess technically at the hands of Archer, just not the right one. Bounded by chains and therefore unable to defend himself, he gets annihilated by the noble phantasm 22 times. The black giant goes silent as he is forced to assume the shape of what can only be described as a strange statue. There's no need to even check whether he's breathing or not. Even if he is a great hero that overcame 10 deaths, he should not be able to get back up after experiencing over 20 deaths. Yes. Even if he is alive, the giant should not have enough strength to even breathe. And the battle ends. It was known from the start who was going to win. Berserker could not win against that servant. No servant can be a match for that man as long as they are a heroic spirit. Heroic spirits each have their own weaknesses, which have been preserved from their time as living beings. By extension, each servant's origin story is their weakest point. Then, what would be the result of having a heroic spirit face off against someone who possesses all the noble phantasms, including the one that ended their life as a human? This is the result. Even if he may have been stronger as a hero, he cannot win against that man as long as he's a heroic spirit. That's crazy. Oh man, I haven't heard much of that in this route. Berserker! The ghostly white girl runs to the black giant that became a corpse. And... Jesus! I love how casual that was, but holy fuck. The man mercilessly slashes the girl with the sword in his hand. She screams. The man takes away the girl's vision with a single horizontal strike. That's not what I was expecting. For the next attack, the aim is to stab her heart. But that misses. No, he missed on purpose. The girl is pierced in the lung and she coughs up blood and he's fucking torturing her now. No shot. The chains are broken. Holy shit, dude. There was something about that where it was like, they were like, oh, of course he's done. And it was like, they really were setting up Berserker to not actually be done. But once Ilya was getting tortured, I was worried that we were going to get involved. That's not what I was expecting. The chains are broken. The black giant breaks the chains and launches an attack on the man. The man stabs the slow-witted target. The spear pierces his heart. He finishes off the giant with a spear similar to Lancer's noble phantasm, Gaybolg. Yeah, I was gonna say this shot is a reminder of the beginning of the game. Then it ends. The black giant dies for sure this time. The sword is pulled out from the collapsed girl. Leaving traces of red behind, the girl crawls to the giant that is no longer moving. Watching in delight, the man walks forward. He threw away his sword. He will use his bare hands, Jesus Christ, to finish off the dying girl. There he is. There he is, with his golden noble phantasm. Yep, treasury of the king, huh? A key-shaped sword that connects to the golden capital. It bridges space and allows the user to freely take any treasure from the vault. Though it need not be said, the more treasures that are gathered, the greater the power of this noble phantasm. Gate of Babylon, treasury of the king. Indeed. I'll die. I'll probably die. I'll die for sure this time. That servant has no logic. He will kill anyone in his way. If I don't get away from here before he finds me, I'll surely be killed. Oh, here it comes. Oh my god. Again, this is a classic, the right answer versus the Shirou answer, but I feel like the Shirou answer is, for some stupid reason, going to be the right answer. But I'm just going to restrain myself and see where it goes. I restrain my body that wants to jump out. I see Tosaka biting her lips in the corner of my eye. I know. It's obvious Tosaka wants to stop him as well. But we'll be the ones killed if we do so. There's no way we can stop him. The man's arm reaches out to the girl in white. What's going to happen here? Is he actually going to kill Ilya in front of our eyes, or is something else going to happen? I can't breathe. My feet are on fire from wanting to jump out, and my arms want to fly out over the terrace. My body is shaking like it's broken and tries to go against my brain's orders. It's as if my heart is shattered. Even then, I suppress my voice and kill my will. I let the girl die as if killing myself. Oh my god! He rip her heart out? I wish we got to see that shot. And it ends. The man pulled something out of the girl's body with his bare hands, with a smile still on his face. He did rip her heart out. A red, dripping object that looks like a fruit. The thing in the man's hand is without a doubt the girl in white's. Yeah, 5-letter word. Heart. I'm assuming this is a bad end. Like I said, the Shirou thing to do was to jump out. My mind burns down. The mind that has gone white is making my whole body shake with uncontrollable anger.
ほう。先ほどから悪臭がしていたが、そうか。
And we're just gonna die anyways, yep.
する不届き者がいたか。
Technically there's been 2 of us. Which one did he sense? The man, still holding the red thing in his right hand.
無礼者。雑種の分際で、俺の姿を直視するな。
He fires one of his countless noble phantasms at me. What the fuck just happened? The terrace falls. The man's noble phantasm goes through the wall of the castle and destroys the hall's walls. Okay. I don't move a step in the midst of it all. I don't care about the rubble that falls from above. I don't have the composure to run, and I have no intention to run. It doesn't matter whether a big piece of rubble grazes my back. I can't think of taking my eyes off of that man right now.
ほう。何かと思えば、セイバーのマスターとはな。
Uh-oh. His red eyes react to my enmity. My blood boils. I'll die in the next instant. There's no way I'm not afraid of that. But my body refuses to run away and keeps screaming to defeat that enemy right now. The corpse of the girl that was killed mercilessly keeps ordering me not to forgive him. It's only natural for me to lose all reasoning. My mind churns from the contradicting desires of life and death.
戦う意志はあるようだが、話にならん。肝心のセイバーがいないのでは、貴様などに価値はない。
I mean, certainly compared to you. A sword appears in the man's left hand. The sword is raised mercilessly and should come down to kill me. Even then, I keep staring at the enemy. I can't think of showing my back to that man.
ちょっと待てよ。そいつさ、僕の知り合いなんだよね。
Fucking Shinji, here we go. The man's sword stops. Shinji, who was watching from the other side of the wall, starts walking to the center of the hall with light steps.
よう、久しぶりだな、エミヤ。こんなところで会うとは思わなかったんでね。少しばかり驚いたよ。
Nothing. The man doesn't move. There's about 10 meters between us. Would I be able to get near him? Even Berserker could not close this distance.
なんだ、ブルって声も出ないのか？まあ、気持ちはわからないでもないよ。僕もライダーの時はそうだった。ああ、そうだったそうだった。いや、あの時は見逃してもらって助かったよ、エミヤ。
Yeah, it worked out pretty well for Shinji, clearly. There's nothing I can use as a weapon, but I don't care. My mind is clear right now. I don't feel any uneasiness about projecting his swords in this situation.
おい、僕がこっちを見ろって言ってるんだ。
It would be so funny if fucking Emiya just kills Shinji right now and Archer just casually watches. I slightly shift my gaze in his direction. I face Shinji while keeping the man in my vision.
そうだよ。わかってるじゃんか。今ここで一番誰が偉いのかってことがさ。
What a fucking idiot you are, Shinji. I gasp a little. It's not Shinji's words, but rather the unexpectedly serious manner in which he says them. Yeah, he actually believes that.
そういうことだ。ならわかってるよな、エミヤ。お前、このままじゃ確実に死ぬよ。
How out of place. Dude, Emiya is like crazy here. Like he is, dude, his internal monologue right now is wild. This whole episode has been wild, but I feel like I've said that so many times in this route. Why say something that's so obvious now?
紹介が遅れたが、そいつは僕の新しいサーバントでね。ライダーなんかよりすごいだろ?
That's certainly one way to put it. Shinji puts his hand over the man's shoulder, and with a delighted face,
命乞いしろよ、エミヤ。少しは考えてやってもいいぜ。
he says some nonsense.
断る。
I have no doubt. I answer right away without showing any hesitation or showing any signs of even considering it.
そうかよ。それじゃあ死んじゃえよ。
Damn, Shinji's like, damn, I thought this would be fun, but like, fuck you then. Shinji jumps back. The man, still with a cold expression, finally brings his raised sword down.
そこまでよ。そこのサーバント。指一本でも動かせば、マスターの命は保証しないわ。
Dude, did we actually choose the right fucking route? Like, did Ilya just getting her heart ripped out was the right route? That's crazy if that's the case. The way this is going, though, this feels like I did make the right decision. Because we would have just died otherwise. And the man stops his sword again. Everyone looks up. Everyone in the hall turns their attention to the girl standing at the terrace. Tosaka's hand is faced towards Shinji. Even though Shinji doesn't have the aptitude as a mage, he should know what that means. Tosaka is serious. If that man brings down his sword, she will kill Shinji as retaliation.
Tosaka? お前までなんでここに?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Tosaka doesn't answer, but just keeps her aim aligned on Shinji.
なんだよ、お前。本気で
Yes.
僕を撃とうってのか?
She's prepared to do it, especially to you.
殺したのはそっちが先でしょう。もっともどうであれこっちの気は変わらないわ。信じ、殺す権利と殺される権利は同じよ。そんなこと人間なら魔術師じゃなくても本能で理解なさい。
And that goes back to a famous quote from a famous anime. The only ones who should kill are those who are willing to be killed. The right to kill and to be killed are the same. Good shit. Shinji weakly retreats. To be fair, this is older than that anime, though, by a little bit. Shinji weakly retreats, being glared down by Tosaka. At that. Oh my god, that voice. What the hell? That guy is watching in delight. He looks at Tosaka as if to belittle her. Then, I feel like there was a strange vibration that took over the hall for an instant.
なるほど。俺の打倒はできぬと悟り、マスターを狙ったか。交渉を持ちかけたのは、マスターを殺したところで、俺が止まらぬと判断したからだな。
Yeah, because yeah, like you would just kill everyone after Shinji dies, so the best move is to actually call it out.
そうよ。シンジが死んだくらいじゃ、あんたは止まりそうにない。けど、この状況なら考えてもいいでしょ。今ならシンジを救えるもの。あんただってサーバントなら、マスターを失うのは痛手のはずよ。
In theory.
なるほどなるほど。なかなかの起点だ。そこの雑種を助けたいのならば、その交渉しかありえまい。
The sword disappears. He turns his back to me as if he lost interest in me. Well, to be fair, Tosaka's more interesting. I'm just gonna say it. She is the GOAT after all. This is a wild shot that I was not expecting to see this episode, though, I won't lie.
お前、何のつもりだ？誰が止めろって言ったんだよ。
いや、状況が変わったぞ、シンジ。彼女ならば、器としては文句なしだ。
What the hell does that mean? For the Holy Grail? Shinji's breath stops. His face filled with irritation suddenly turns into a dirty smile.
そうか。いや、嬉しいよ、遠坂。君がまだ生きていてくれて。
そう。一応私もほっとしたわ。あんたみたいなのでも付き合いは長いからね。どこかで死なれてたら気落ちするわ。
Huh. What the hell is about to happen? Laughing happily, Shinji claps his hands. It's strange. Shinji shows no fear even though Tosaka can end his life. It seems like an overwhelming joy is numbing his emotions.
まあいい。それよりどうだ、遠坂。エミヤなんてほっといてさ、僕たちと手を組まないか？
僕たち？
そうだよ。君もキャスターが力を蓄えているのは知ってるだろ？竜道寺は今回の祭壇なんだ。そこに陣取られて魔力を蓄えられてるとね。
Yep.
少しばかり不利になる。
That is what's happening. Shinji says with both arms raised. But that's an obvious fact. On top of that, it seems like Shinji doesn't know about how Castor obtained Saber and Archer. Yeah, Castor is cooking.
な、わかるだろ？一人でやっても勝ち目は薄いんだ。バーサーカーのマスターは倒したけど、これだけじゃ足りない。遠坂、君がいれば キャスターたちにも負けないものが作れるよ。
Interesting. Shinji invites her with confidence. To that,
お断りよシンジ。あんたが誰とつながっているかは知らないけどね、私から見てもいいように使われているだけのやつについていく道理はないわ。
that's a quick way to piss Shinji off, even though it's true. Tosaka refuses him without twitching a brow.
なんだって？
Well, yeah, you are getting used, dumbass.
わからない？腐れ縁から忠告するけど、もうちょっと周りを観察する知力を養いなさい。
Honestly.
マトシンジをマスターだと思っているのはあんた一人だけよ。あんたには魔術師としての才能がないっていい加減気がついたら。
Damn, that's a savage line. Shinji's face twitches. Tosaka's harsh words must have made him forget that his life is in her hands.
やれギルガメッシュ。エミヤも遠坂も皆殺しだ。
I don't think he's going to obey this order. Shinji orders to his own servant.
なんだよ。やれって言ってるだろ。お前なら僕がやられる前にやるなんて簡単じゃないか。
Like I said, he's only going to do what you say when it benefits him as well.
いや、残念だが時間切れだ。これ以上放置すれば腐ってしまう。
What the hell does that mean? Are we talking about Ilya? Cause like again, we talk about the Holy Grail and all that. The man shows Shinji, who is closing in on him, the thing in his right hand. It's her heart, yeah. A red lump. It's the thing that he took out of the girl. It's still throbbing. What the fuck? Shinji grits his teeth in vexation. Yeah, because it's, again, going back to the weird, yeah, to the fate route. Kind of.
後悔するなよ遠坂。もう仲間にしてやらないからな。
I don't think she's gonna regret it. Just a hunch. Shinji run towards the front entrance. There's one person left. After the man slowly watches his master being angry.
だそうだ。良い友人を持ったな。
Mm-hmm. I really do. He says delightfully and leaves the hall filled with rubble. What the fuck was that scene? Oh my god. Yeah, now the aftermath with freaking Tosaka and Emiya. Jesus Christ. That was intense, to say the least. The sun is setting, and the lobby slowly wrapped in darkness. We came to the castle to find an ally, but the only thing remaining is the ruins of a castle after a turn of events.
それでどうする？こっちから仕掛けず守りを固めるっていうのならここに残ってもいいと思う。
I mean, it's so weird, right? Because now, with Berserker out of the picture, I mean, it's literally now Gilgamesh and Caster's brigade is it. And whatever's going on with Lancer and theoretically Kirei. And that's it. That's like all that's going on. And then there's like masters like us hanging around with no servants.
食料も暖も取れるし、壁を直せば籠城の真似事ぐらいできるしね。
I guess that's why she didn't plan for a way back, because if we were able to create an alliance with Ilya, we would just stay at her castle, and obviously now the castle's been abandoned, so same principle kind of fits here. That's the best thing to do if we want to protect ourselves, but we even gained an ally to choose the path to fight because we couldn't do so.
いや、守りを固めたところで無駄だろう。キャスターがセイバーを完全に支配してしまったら、どんなに籠城したところで破られる。
Yeah, he's not wrong.
仮にもしここで生き延びたところで聖杯がキャスターのものになったら、それこそ。
私たちだけじゃなく、町の人間もただじゃ済まない。
Yeah, it's not a good situation at all.
なら、やることは一つね。キャスターがセイバーを手に入れる前に取り戻す。
Jesus
キャス
Christ.
ターとアーチャーとアサシンとクズキ先生。この
What
4
the
人を
fuck?
私たちで倒す。
Yeah, I mean, your only chance of that is with Saber, but what the actual fuck? I nod silently. Since we couldn't get the help of Villia, we have to do this by ourselves. Jesus Christ. The sun will completely set soon. We'll have to get out of this place before that and attack Caster before Saber surrenders. Good fucking luck with that. Jesus Christ, that was the end of the day? That was a short episode, but I know if I go another day, it'll probably be a stupidly long episode. I do want to save. Don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look, boom, boom, and then I will take a look at the title, though. Night, Stay Night. What on earth? What in the world? Night, Stay Night? That's like a crazy title, I'm not gonna lie. That's some weird, like... That's some weird, like, the play on, like, Fate Stay Night, obviously, but also Night... Stay what? Like, what the hell is gonna happen in the next episode? The fact that the next day is called Night Stay Night has me way too hyped for it. But yeah, this is a shorter episode. It won't be that long before the next one anyways, though. It'll probably only be, because this is going out on Tuesday, actually in about like 4 hours. Because I am recording this in the morning before this goes up. I have some other stuff already recorded, but yeah, I'll be doing the next episode really soon, recording-wise, and then as far as when you guys see it, it'll be the weekend, I think? I think this weekend should be the next Fate video, or around there. Because, what? You have, Hilda tomorrow, Fruits Basket after that, Persona after that, JoJo Fate. Yeah, so probably Sunday, unless something pops up that I'm not foreseeing. And I'll most likely probably be Sunday for Fate. If not Sunday, then next Monday. But regardless, it should be a little less than a week for the next Fate, so it won't be that long of a wait. So, you know, it is what it is with the somewhat short episode. But like I said, this is kind of one of those on the border episodes where I think sometimes I would be like, okay, let's do another day, and that would lead to a super long episode. But I think there was a lot of content in this. There was a lot of exciting stuff. It was the Medea backstory, the Medea, not even Medea backstory, really. It was more, I mean, we got the Medea backstory. We unlocked the Medea backstory as well, but a lot of it was actually the Caster backstory that was really interesting about how she found Kuzuki, or really Kuzuki found her, and all that stuff was really interesting. And then we pretty much got right around to Berserker versus Gilgamesh and everything relating to that, and then that just whole sequence after with Shinji, Gilgamesh, Tosaka, and Shirou, which was fantastic as well. So this was a very action-packed episode. Not going to be one of the longer episodes, clearly, but it was a very intense episode. I feel like even though, again, it was maybe on the shorter side, because I feel like we've only been going about 2 hours or so, which that's kind of my like low-end limit, is I pretty much want every like Fate video to be at least 2 hours. Like I said, and this has happened a few times in Unlimited Blade Works, like this was just a very action-packed episode that didn't waste any time. There wasn't really like any filler. It was just straight to the intense, badass craziness of this episode, and I feel like because of that, even though it is a bit on the shorter side, I feel like the context of what we actually got in this episode makes it more than worthy of being the entire episode in this particular instance. And with the next day being Night Stay Night, I imagine that might be a crazy day, and with us having to try and save Saber and take down Caster's brigade, like I wouldn't be surprised if that's a pretty long day too. So I think it's just going to work out where this is going to be as good of a stopping point as we're going to get for a while. So it feels like the best place to just end the episode, even if this episode is going to end up being a little bit on the shorter side because of that. It is what it is. Regardless, we are banging through this Fate route. Berserker and Ilya are dead, which was crazy. Obviously, her heart was still throbbing, and I'm assuming that's related to the Holy Grail. And I'm sure we're going to get into that sooner or later. And yeah, we had this big encounter with Gilgamesh and Shinji that I wasn't really expecting today, and yeah, Berserker and Ilya are off the board, which is massive. Like I said, that basically leaves it to the Gilgamesh and Shinji, and then Castor's brigade, and then you have, again, the Lancer question mark and the Kirei question mark that we don't fully know what's going on there, which feels like it's gonna potentially lean into something later in the playthrough, later in the story. So I'm excited to see where that obviously goes, but it looks like after doing a thing with Berserker and Gilgamesh and all of this nonsense this episode, it looks like next episode we're going to shift our focus back towards Castor. Now, all of this is in relation to trying to stop Castor, of course, but you get my point. Despite, you know, our reasons for going to Ilya's castle being related to Castor, this episode really had nothing to do with Castor aside from the beginning where we got the Castor interlude. But obviously next episode looks like it's going to be a lot more heavily focused on Castor, which should be really interesting. It should be really fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. Getting more Archer stuff, hopefully saving Saber. All that craziness is probably going to be in the next episode, so I imagine next episode is going to be a doozy. It's going to be a banger. It's going to be wild, and yeah, I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be an awesome time, so not really a whole lot else to say there. I'm definitely just... like I said, I'm just looking forward to whatever comes. Whatever comes, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be an awesome, I'm sure it's going to be an awesome episode. I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, and I just can't wait to see it, go down. And I hope you guys are excited for it, too, because, I've had a blast playing this game. I think, like I said, I even though we still have a ways to go, I think compared to the Fate route, I do think Unlimited Blade Works has been more consistently entertaining, consistently exciting throughout. Again, I think the big thing that's holding me off on actually declaring it my favorite route so far is just I love the ending of the Fate route so much. And you guys know how, like, emotional it made me, and that's kind of the big thing holding me back, because I do think... just tit for tat, blow for blow, I've enjoyed Unlimited Blade Works more than I loved Fate, and I really enjoyed Fate a lot, but it does feel like Unlimited Blade Works has been absolutely kicking ass, and I have been here for it every step of the way. It's been absolutely freaking awesome, and I'm so excited to just keep going, because this has just been such an amazing story, but it's also been such a wild ride. Like, I feel like every time I feel like I have a grasp on what they're cooking, they throw me for a loop with a plot twist. Whereas I feel like in the Fate route, I feel like the story was pretty, like, everything went, like, it kind of was like, okay, that's kind of, that wasn't that surprising that X, Y, and Z went the way they did. But I feel like in the Unlimited Blade Works route, every time you think you know where something's going, it just, they throw you a curveball. And... yeah, like that was the last thing. I thought it was weird that this day was titled Versus Berserker, because I was like, how the hell are we supposed to fight Berserker? But of course, it was because it wasn't us fighting Berserker. But even then, I was like, okay, Castor sent all the goons after Berserker. No, it was freaking Gilgamesh and Shinji that were fighting Berserker and Ilya, which is absolutely psychotic. And obviously, unsurprisingly, Gilgamesh won because he's fucking Gilgamesh. But yeah, I mean, it's just every time I think I have a grasp on what they're cooking up, they throw a curveball at me, and it's wild and awesome, and it does truly feel like we are barreling towards, I don't even want to say the end, because like I said, there still are several factions at play here, and I'm curious who the end game villain of the Unlimited Blade Works route is. Is it Gilgamesh? Is it Kirei and Gilgamesh like last time? Is it going to be Castor and her brigade? Is it going to be... I don't think it's going to be Castor. I think it's Gilgamesh and Shinji. But then that still leads it to basically being Gilgamesh and Kirei, unless Kirei's actually dead. So, I don't know. It feels like the end game we're leading to is very similar to the last one, unless it somehow ends up being Castor. But it doesn't... it feels like it's still... you know, all roads lead to Gilgamesh, so to speak. So we're gonna have to see how it plays out. But I'm definitely really excited. It should be a lot of fun. But that was a crazy episode. Even if, like I said, it's probably gonna end up being a little shorter. But nonetheless, I hope you guys don't mind too much. But anyways, without any further ado, I must bid you adieu. Flamin' Shark signing out. Hope you have a wonderful, fantastical day. And I'll see you next time with another video. Thanks for watching. Peace.